Welcome. I'm your host, Paula, the founder of Transformative Harmonics, a podcast that offers listeners a synthesis of ancient wisdom and modern science. Welcome to another episode of Transformative Harmonics. I'm Paula, your host. And today I'm here for another one of our cups of tea or fireside chats with several of our faculty members from our new academy. And before I start today's episode, I would like to invite you, wherever you're located, maybe find your own cup of tea or glass of water, but certainly allow yourself to slow down and take a few breaths and arrive with us in this space in whatever way works for you. Sometimes it's with our eyes, sometimes it's hearing our voice, or just the sound of our breath. And as you arrive, we'll notice or invite some space to be created as things settle inside and you make room for this rich conversation that we're about to have. And as you create space for it, we hope that some of what we're sharing will land so you can ingest and digest effortlessly. And if it feels tight inside or busy and things are not landing, just know you can always come back. This is a conversation, and these types of conversation we will be having regularly on this program and through our academy. We're here to educate, to hold space, and to help you navigate these changing times. So welcome to this episode where I've brought together two of my new and somewhat, we've had some time to get to know each other, Sarah, peers, I would say, and friends who are part of a collective that we have created in Transformative Harmonics as we move towards this idea of an academy, an educational platform for soul growth. And I brought together Sarah, Gillen, and Jeilene Tracey specifically for their expertise in blending the science with the spiritual evolution. As you read about their backgrounds on my faculty page, you'll come to understand the length of which they've invested time in really building their knowledge of how we operate as humans at a very basic, fundamental DNA level, and entering into this larger expansion of consciousness and what that means. So I felt like bringing them together would provide an interesting conversation. Right now, there's so much happening in the world. And so I'm thrilled to have both of you here so we can begin to share some space and start to dialogue about what people need to know at this time, what's going to be most helpful, what's on our minds, or what we're tuning into intuitively. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to share some helpful practical things as well as just a cadence of reassurance and calmness amidst this very frenetic period. So thank you for sharing space and coming together today. Just putting out this question of, what is happening right now in this phase of our evolution and growth. I know that, we're nearing almost another transition in a way. And it's important to capture those phases, I think, to help people settle in and have some context. And you can each feel into what feels important around that.
Well, actually, I think we came into another big spurt with the equinox last week. I've been watching the astrology and the astronomy of it, and the energies are lining up a lot more. They're a lot more like nobody's ever seen 9 planets or dwarf planets in one sign and all lined up, or in the first dominant degree of each sign of the cardinal signs and the what they're calling the world signs. I might have that part wrong, but I've been feeling that the energies that were starting actually in the fall with 3i Atlas and the different movements that were occurring, and then started revving up at solstice at the equinox. So it was really like, go. And so, yes, the question then is, how do you go from being, we've been having so many things. Oh, that's the other thing. They're all going direct. There's nothing holding us back now. There's no retrograde. Nothing's in retrograde until May 6th. And so it's really like, great, there's nothing holding me back. But then I've been held back for like eons, like lifetimes. And certainly this one, and, constantly like, not yet, hold back, or I was holding myself back. And now it's suddenly like, go. And so, yes, how do you do that? Be that, rather, in a way that is helping the energies be expansive and welcoming and making space for the positive energies that are bringing in this new age, that and maintain, because we're human, we're physical, and we have to deal with what it's like to actually just be here and deal with things like knees and whatever, and have our own energy be calm. So if people are feeling like, holy moly, I'm in a, there's who flooded the downtown. The best thing, I'll start, and I'm sure we all agree on this, the best thing is to find stillness at least several times a day. I've been telling people 8 breaths at least. And if you can just do that several times a day, that's a good place to start, because that'll give you a chance to come back to yourself. And yes, I'm constantly talking about grounding and centering. And we have, it's our being in ourselves that's helping the energies come in. So we have to be here, not like,
yeah. And you touched on something that my guides have been talking to me a lot. Well, for years, really. I was actually going back through some materials that I was talking about in 2022. And this narrative that is here now was happening then too on a smaller scale, because I believe in the last several years, we've been getting prepared for this. I mean, really since 2012, when sort of the lid came off, we've been genetically getting prepared for this. So talk about not being ready, or not being able to feel that you're ready, or not being able to move forward. I would take that all the way down to the molecular level in our DNA. And I felt that, and I've always been guided that our DNA has an incredible, tremendous ability. And humans are these incredible organisms that we are chimera. We are conglomeration of many different DNAs from many different organisms, everything from life that's present on Earth, from microbes and things that intercalate into our genome, but also a lot of the different star groups that have been on this planet have been integrating into our genome. And humans have been this reservoir of DNA. And so our genome, which is, on as far as genomes go, it's not huge, but it's, say small to medium sized genome, has a lot of different bits of information in it. So our capabilities should be, and our life extension should be quite amazing, right? We should be living a lot longer than we are. Everything should be happening. So what I've been feeling is that through the past year, and especially with the winter solstice, the energy that came in, which got fully seeded by February, was this return of a field of energy that finally is speaking to our DNA so directly that we are getting activated almost without doing anything. Now, what happens to a person when they get activated unexpectedly is that their whole nervous system can respond in a way that feels overwhelmed, feels scared, nervous. We're not used to having the Maserati turned on in our body, right? We're not used to understanding what it means to be a really power-filled person. one of the neat things that has been going on since January and then into February is that we had the full seeding and I would say integration of this energy into planet Earth. And planet Earth, I feel, has really shifted her frequency in the way that she's allowing and holding space, meaning she's not holding space for anybody anymore. She's just on her way. She's moved into another dimensional frequency. And because of that, some of the beings that were living in her energy fields that have vibrational matches, vibrations that don't match hers, I felt were pushed out. They were kicked out. And so there's been a massive purge on her part. So we felt like there's this been lift of energy, but it's also been pretty unstable. And since February, when that energy got fully anchored in this, which you keep talking about the grandmothers, Paula, and for me, it's felt like Divine Mother. And one of the YouTubes I put up was about Mom's Home. It was just, they kept saying that to me, Mom's Home. And, you guys are in trouble, Mom's Home. And they kept saying that to me. I thought that was really funny, but it feels true, right? It feels like, okay, there's going to be a reckoning. And March was this time where there was a whole lot of removal and disbursement of some of the energies that have been controlling our genome, controlling the energy on this planet. And there was this energetic, you could almost say battle. There's this energetic tension that was present in March and we're still in March, but we're coming out of it now because when we hit the equinox, it started to shift and started to change. Astrologically, yes, the planets started going direct and things started lining up. And then energetically, it felt like all of the things that had been feeling chaotic suddenly started to like shift into place. So they're talking about April being this time where we start to realize I do have all this power inside of me. So what do I want to do with it? How do I want to relate to the people in my life? How do I want to relate to the field of energy around me? And how can I create a relationship with it that doesn't feel overwhelming or scary to me, but actually I feel like I'm in the driver's seat for the first time in my life. Oh my God, I'm a human. I have this genome that is insanely powerful. And for the first time, we're learning, wow, I can actually direct this and I can direct my life and my life can actually turn out and manifest in ways that feel enlightening, that feel vital to me, that support my health, my well-being, that support my vitality, that support my relationships, that support everything. So many people that I've talked to over the years, it felt like it was just one thing after the next that kept pushing them down, or if it was a health problem or it was a financial problem. And we're finally moving into a phase where that's going to shift because some of the players that were creating that over and over again are starting to lose the grip of the control here.
Okay. So we have maybe a group that is more what Sarah's talking about with the, I don't know what's happening. And they're needing to find their center. And then those that know what's happening that are being invited into the next level. And so how do we best, what's our next step then in April? It's more internally listening, the turning inward, right? The breaths and the turning inward to listen for what that next move is and where to put our attention, because we can put our attention towards the things that are falling apart, or we can put our attention towards what is being asked to grow. So we choose what frequency we would like to align with, right? At this time. And that's going to require some slowing down and being aware of where we are in a given moment.
And an intention, having an intention each day that matches what you want to experience. Because when you step into a relational environment that's going to be more responsive to you, then humans have been outsourcing their power for so long. We've been giving it away. We've been relying on others to supply our safety, our power, our understanding of who we are. And when you hand that back to an individual, then they need to learn, take baby steps to walk towards being responsible for that within themselves. And so I think all the things you're talking about, going inward, allowing themselves the chance to feel, taking the time to feel. What am I feeling right now? How does this affect me? Why am I feeling this way? What does it mean to me? Just taking the time to feel, that simple step, that is part of the going inward, and breathing into that feeling, centering in the body. What you were saying, Sarah, we came here to be physical. Absolutely. That's our vehicle of transcendence, is our physical being. So for me, it's all about allowing yourself to feel, because that's our nervous system is so intricate, and it's connected to our immune system and our endocrine system. And so we feel to know. The more you allow your feelings to help you understand who you are, then you start to realize, okay, I understand. I'm actually participating at deeper levels than I even realized.
That's the self-responsibility piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the energetic hygiene, which you're talking about, Sarah.
This might be a good place to bring in things like trauma. Because one of the things that happens, especially if you've been battling Kali Yuga for lifetimes, and you get to this point, and it's been really like, if the younger generation definitely has come in with some awarenesses that are going to be very helpful for them to do it more easily. And what I was getting from my guides this morning is that this is a time for everybody to be able to have an easier time if they can recognize that. But I've been finding that there are quite a few tigers facing the wall. You know, the lovely tiger who spent 12 years in a 12-foot cage. And then they opened the door and she just stuck her head in the corner. And then they finally took her out. And she just walked a 12-foot circle because she was sick. So one of the things that is hopefully going to be happening through Transformative Harmonics, little ad for the future, is ways to help. Some of us are definitely going to be talking about how to be able to release those. And so it's not just like the trauma of this lifetime, it's the trauma of holding yourself down in order to survive for 5,000 years. And then suddenly they say, no, it's fine, go ahead. And you're like, how? You know? And so I just wanted to kind of bring that in, because I think there's a holding and a support that is necessary for those levels of, it's a huge shift. And I think everybody should give themselves compassion, because whatever stumbling you do, let's bring it down to the first person you need to be compassionate towards is yourself, always. And there is so much growing in each person who is paying attention and wanting to be on the path and seeing that there's a split of the energies and trying to choose the light. And it's okay to struggle. It's okay to have some rocks in the way. And there are ways to release those. And we can, gathering in community is a really important part of that. Huge at this time, because Kali Yuga was about dominate, destroy, alienate, isolate, like squash the female and nature. And certainly don't see that, my grass that's peeking out is my sister, which she is. And we need to learn how to do that. We need to learn how to it's actually see the reality now, and also, as Jeilene was saying, like with coming back to the stillness several times a day, it's like, okay, and then look at what's real now. And if that's hard, it's okay. What's real now is you're going to process something. That's okay. You're doing great. the whole channeling I got was basically about that on some level.
I know that what brings people angst right now as well is about the split and what that looks like within their lives, especially if they've been on a path of awakening and there's people in their family who haven't. And so as that becomes more definitive in the upcoming months of more of that settling and, okay, I'm ready to move forward, then what happens for people? What are some of the things? Sometimes in my classes, people might show up with angst because suddenly relationships are gone, right? And they have angst because they're maybe not holding that bigger perspective of, well, that was part of the shift for you. And then other relationships may stay, right? But there certainly, might be some difference in how you're navigating life and how your loved one is.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And that's true. And I would even redefine split. So for me, it feels that every being who is here, every soul who is here is at their own level of growth and understanding of what they truly are, right? That they are an expression of source. And we're in degrees of being close to that and further away from that return to self. And so we're all at our own level of learning and development. And so each person, regardless of where they are in that, regardless of who they are on this planet at this time, regardless of whatever they're tripped up in and beliefs and everything else, everybody is deserving of compassion and understanding that they are moving at their pace. And their pace is just where they're meant to be right now in this lifetime. And they're here to learn very important things. And so instead of really this split where, which almost sounds biblical, like half of you go to hell and the other half go to heaven, right? To me, it feels more like you're going to move your needle as much as you can, given the circumstances. And the circumstances is that we have this incredible energy here now that our genomes are responding to, and it's changing us on a fundamental level. Even the people who appear not to be changing are changing, because this is happening at a biological level as well as an energetic one. So everybody has this opportunity to soften. Whether you turn towards that softening or not is your choice, but the opportunity, the invitation is there for everybody. And so I think that to be the happiest in a relationship, has always felt, requires a lot of non-judgment. And so if my partner has no interest in what I'm all into, right? And he loves me and he supports me emotionally and enthusiastically in my work, but it's just not his jam. It's just not where his interest is, right? He's much more on the science and business side, and that's what he loves. Keeps him happy. So years ago, I gave up trying to pull him along in my direction, because you know what? That's just me imposing a dogma on him that doesn't belong to him. And so I let go of that a long time ago. And I realized, how hypocritical if I'm being judgmental of him, right? Who's to say what is right? Who's to say what is the best path? The only path is your path. And we all need to be incredibly tolerant of each other's path. And I think if we can be in a space of non-judgment, then we can drop this whole, there's a split, you're not going to make it to New Earth, and just recognize that everybody here is doing their best to move an inch maybe or a mile in the direction of recognizing who they are at their truth. And so that I feel passionately about that.
Hello, this is Paula Scatoloni. Thank you for listening to the Transformative Harmonics podcast. If this conversation has been interesting to you. I invite you to look at our new Transformative Harmonics Academy. I was inspired to create this membership and academy to bring together not only the transformative power of sound, but also a growing global community of faculty and teachers who are coming together to support you on your journey. So together, you will come and meet myself, others who are interested in spiritual growth, embodiment, soulful connection, opening their gifts, and we will gather weekly to explore, embody, and find our signature frequency. If this is interesting to you, feel free to check out the website or make a discovery call with me at paulascatoloni.com. And now back to the podcast. I love it. You want to add anything, Sarah?
Some people are going to fight to stay with the dark. And that, yes, it's their choice. And yes, I can have compassion. And I just want to include that everybody has a right to take care of themselves. And I mean, what we're seeing in the news and stuff, and yes, don't doom scroll. It brings your energy down and replicates it down there. And that, if you're watching this, I'm assuming that you'd rather be supporting the light. But I just want to say that you have a right to set boundaries, and you have a right to have it be safe for you to be exploring all the incredible energies that are going on and the shifts in your DNA and everything that's happening, and how that may be opening up opportunities in the world and all sorts of stuff. And so you can have compassion from afar if you need to. And that's fine too. Yeah. It's not that you have to live with someone who is not being respectful of your right to be on your own path. And, or I spent the morning yesterday in the State House for Planned Parenthood. And yeah, we were all polite. There are people there I would not bring into my house. And that's just the way it goes. And I can give them grace. And I'm just saying, people don't think that it means that you have to somehow stay in a relationship that is really, you are finding newly, maybe, is not good for you.
So that's the discernment, which is a topic of our last podcast and feels really important right now. Whether that's discernment within your relationship, right? Is this person supportive with a family member, partner, or is it something where I need to create space? But also discernment of those expansive energies, I think, because lately I've also been seeing that even the expansive energies can have some distortion within them if we're not discerning about what we are connecting with and giving up our energetically, right? Allowing ourselves to connect with. And that discernment, if folks are new to spirituality, there's a lot out there right now. There's a lot, and having a sense of what is there in support of the growth versus there in support of an individual's needs is important.
Yeah. And that's where the feeling comes in, that when you're bringing something in to your awareness and your field, taking a moment not to just accept it, but to sit with it. How does this feel in my body? When I listen to this person speaking, how does this feel in my body? Do I feel like my heart is lighting up? Do I feel like my body feels at ease? My nervous system is calming? Or am I tensing? Do I feel stressed? Do I feel like I'm leaving my body because I'm feeling a little, because sometimes information can be very advanced and we think, this person's so advanced, or they're channeling, or they have a lot of information. So therefore this is good for me to listen to, regardless of how it makes me feel. And I think that's a difficult way to go about your awakening. I think it's much better to listen to your internal cues. And if it feels aligned for you, stick with it for the moment. And remember that what is right for you right now might not be right for you next month. It's good right now for a reason. And that reason, goes beyond this present lifetime. It's bigger than that, and it could be temporary and transient. So go with what feels good in the moment. Always check in with your internal compass of how something feels in your body. Close your eyes, take a few breaths, allow yourself to feel. And I think the more we do that as humans, the better off we'll be in regards to, like you were saying, with relationships. If a relationship isn't supporting your growth, isn't supporting you being able to shine who you are, then absolutely it doesn't make sense for you to continue to allow for diminishment of you and limitation of you. We've been in a limitation system for, like you were saying, thousands of years, and we're finally busting out of limitation. And so we get to now participate at such a different level. And I think in April, especially, the energy to me, depending on how you're tuning into it, but the energy feels really, really rich, really good. I would call it yummy. Despite everything that's going on in the world, there is this tone of really, really nurturing, warm, yummy energy that when we tune into and we participate with and we say, okay, this is where I want to be. Wow. I think it's going to be a very exciting time ahead for us. Even though in the presence of the dismantling that's going on, the guides are pretty clear. Like that has to happen. That has to happen. And it feels destabilizing if you let it, but there's another place to tune into that is the opposite of instability. It is the all and the everything.
The energy for me has felt very powerful. There's a strength to it that if we can get out of the way and allow it to move through us, it is that fire horse. It is that it's like a big wave. If you've been in the ocean and really felt the power of a wave,
that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. That's what it's felt like. So I do want to touch on this topic only because it's delicate and fragile, and it's part of the discussion as well right now and we've touched around it in terms of staying in compassion, creating space, discernment, but it is the topic of polarization and the pull to polarize right now as things change in the months ahead. And so while we find truth and speak truth, what are some important things around how to do that without polarizing?
You want to start, Sarah?
No.
Okay, I have some thoughts. I feel like we have been operating in a system of polarization that I think has been, I know I keep coming back to this, and I don't mean to sound like conspiracy theorist here or anything, but I do feel like our differences have been highlighted and exaggerated, and that the way back is to recognize our similarities. And the way back is to recognize that each person that is in front of me, I see myself in you. You are a reflection. You are a reflection of the field back to me. Each and every thing in the field is a mirror back to ourselves to understand the parts of ourselves that perhaps are hidden or underdeveloped or waiting to be understood better, even the parts we don't like, even the people we don't like. So polarization is the way that it has been here. But as frequencies increase, what happens is that starts to evaporate, that starts to fade. And gradually, yes, as the human being begins to rise up in different bands of frequency, as we have been, we become less polarized. My guides have been talking about this for years, that eventually humans and all beings who go through a process of evolution, they go from being very corporeal, very solid into states of less and less physical. And through that process that we're undergoing, and it's a slow process from our perspective, you might think of it as quickly from the other side because time moves in different ways. But from our perspective, it's a long, slow process, but we're in that river of change. And so we're moving out of polarity slowly. And so the least kicking and screaming you do, moving out of polarity, better off you're going to be. Just allow yourself, like this is all a game. Just allow yourself, okay, how do I want to show up in my game today? How do I want to play? How do I want to interact with that person? Wow, that person's opinions and ways are completely opposite to mine and they make me feel uncomfortable. Why does it make me feel so uncomfortable? Why is that so triggering for me? What about entertaining the idea that something could be different than me, than what I think is correct and is right? Do I need to be right? Am I so attached to that? This is where separation and polarity comes from, because separation has been our sickness, right? For humans. And we're not separate. We're part of each other. We're sharing air. We're sharing molecules. Everything about us. We're all part of one field of energy. And there's many facets to that field of energy. And we're all avatars showing up as a different facet of that energy. So choose who you want to play with on your game board, but recognize that it's not as, it might not be as important for you to shift the thoughts and minds of other people that you originally thought it.
Yeah, polarization is a duality consciousness. And dualistic religions certainly have a lot to pay for in that. And it even shifted the definition of physics. And so the way physics has been taught and understood is about like concrete objects and that don't change the way they act. And that's not what physics is, actually. Physics is, how does energy work? And yes, I agree completely, Jeilene. The real truth and what we're moving toward is being able to actually experience that all is one energetically, so that and when we get stuck in the physical, like the ones who are having trouble and are falling down like ashes right now are the ones who have closed the energy so constrictedly that there's no basically life force, like actually how energy really works, which is, I've done energy healing and energy therapy my whole adult life. And it was always, I mean, I would talk about it when I gave talks and stuff. It starts with, everything is energy and everything is made from energy first. It's not like energy is like you plug it in after you've made the object. And when you realize that, then things can change. Seemingly miraculous healings can occur, and did and do, and things get softer and more malleable. And people like David Clements are talking about how the beings that he sees know how to do things just by thinking about them. And that is part of our nature, because when you can see or experience like air as part of the field of all that is, and brass and rocks and cats and who is sleeping right here and whatever, then the whole idea of polarity and the kind of conflict that you were talking about, Jeilene, then can become, if we're really good and really in ourselves, just an opportunity to learn something. It's how to learn what hidden little rocks, it's not, are like constrictions that don't belong there. Do we still have, like, what is it about that person who said that is ticking me off? And where is that? And so I can use that to clean out a little more, which I think a lot is coming up. That's coming up a lot. People have thought, oh my God, I have done my work forever. Like I'm clean as a whistle, and we still have this gravel or whatever. So, okay, we're still human and we're still physical, and we have things to clean out. So we do. And so it can be an opportunity for that kind of self-growth with the goal of being able to be non-reactive, responsive, yes, non-reactive. because reactive is automatic and you're not thinking.
Yeah, it's good. Non-reactive and unattached to outcome, I think.
Well, I think you can have a goal. I think you can have I think you can have, because that's what intentions are.
Well, yeah, intentions, but letting go of the attachment of, if it doesn't turn out a certain way, then I'm not satisfied.
Yes, and also especially with that person in that way.
Yeah.
We're talking about like, oh my God, why are you doing that?
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah. Expectations and attachments to things being a certain way lead to disappointment and suffering, as the Buddhists would say.
And at the same time, I'm going to hold my intention for like people not to kill wolves.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
So I want to honor the passion of the correction of what is not, where there's harm being made, right? Because that's, from knowing you, that's a lot of what you see, right? You can see where the harm is. And I can't help but think of it through the lens of the nervous system. And the idea, or what I witness, is when people develop the locus of control and they bring it back inside and they develop the sense of safety inside, they start to let go of controlling the outside and needing the outside to look a certain way in order for them to feel safe. So it comes back to, could it be as simple as, what am I afraid of in any given moment, right? Where's the fear?
Yeah.
And keeping it really simple for people to navigate that and exploring that. Is that fear true? Is it real? Does it have to do with actually what's happening? Or is what's happening just a projection of something for me to be afraid of, but the fear actually just lives in, I don't know, your DNA, could we say? Or, the body, right?
Tissues. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So that feels like a place people could simplify it so that they can stay with the process a little bit.
Yeah.
I like that. Just asking that question. It's good. We're always moving between fear and love. So acknowledging.
Yes.
Acknowledging that is good in any given moment.
That was the message in 2019 when I started to move into this bigger shift. Like, I kept hearing that phrase. And it was at that time, can it be that simple? Can it be that, and it's still there. That foundation has never changed. So I love that that's becoming more common, because back then, there was just pockets of people talking about that. And now it's thousands, right?
That's very true.
Mm-hmm. So as we wrap up, I want to make sure I talk about, because both of you are medical intuitives and really focusing on the body and the physiology of anything that feels very important right now, of how people take care of themselves at a very physical level, right? In terms of the ascension symptoms, in terms of things they might not even think about are related to ascension, and they're running to the doctor and they're getting tests. I know I have a lot of people that have vertigo and they're, trying to figure out why, and spending money on all these tests. And I just want to say, or tinnitus. And so, I'm trying to find those places where there's space for conversations about this.
Lots of people, including David Crouch, are talking about the physiological effects of the energies moving. And certainly tinnitus and fogginess and the other things that you mentioned, which I can't remember at the moment. I think trouble sleeping, and also awakening being still tired. Literally, our nervous systems are being rewired. They're being rebuilt. It's physiological, neurological, energetic, and it's really happening. And so you can't unplug it. The thing about the nervous system, like if you're going to change the wiring in your house, you turn off the power. we can't do that. So yes, we're like teenagers where they do crazy stuff because their corpus callosum is being built and with the power on. And so another level of compassion for ourselves, because that I'm so glad you brought it up, because I've been finding the same thing with also pain. Pain's been another one that seems to be happening a lot. So if we could move into a still place when we feel that and learn to be actually move our energy into ourselves and really be embodied. I call it enhomed. So it's like, Mom, I'm home. And then move into the place where the pain is or the going on and just be with it. Very often the nervous system feels supported, and you can find some amazing things happen if you really, really just be with it, which, hint, hint, means don't tell the story about it. Don't be talking about that pain because somebody, whatever, or you had a history of whatever. Like, just be with the sensation while being fully as possible in your own presence, in your body. And see if that helps.
Would you like to add, Jeilene?
Sure. Yeah. I feel like absolutely that's a wonderful way of regulating the system. I also feel that agree 100% that we're being rewired right now, that our nervous systems are rewiring in response to the energy that's present, and that it does cause a lot of stress on the system because the system is trying to keep up. And so typically our energy body is, miles ahead of our physical body. Our physical body's trying to catch up with what energetically is already present, is already happening. And yes, the whole system is energy. And yes, the whole system is part of one unit. But at the same time, your consciousness and your soul becoming more embodied within your physical being is a process to get used to. And our nervous system tends to clench or restrict when it feels a big bolus of energy coming through it. And especially what's been happening lately, we'll have big waves of energy flow through us. And then the next day they'll be gone. It's almost like a wave coming in and then receding. And that alone can make you feel like, oh, a lot of energy. Oh, it's gone. Where did it go? Now what?
What's that?
Yeah, I know, right. What was that? What was that tidal wave? And so it just can make the body like a rag doll and exhausted at times, full of energy at sometimes and exhausted at other. So those are all normal aspects of it too, the changing of your energy levels. And so like you're saying, a lot of compassion right now for what we're going through, and presence is very important. And then also because we're becoming more attuned and more intuitive to the energy, more clairsentient to what is around us, which is how every human, I think, is in their native state would be, is very, clairsentient wouldn't be a thing. We're all clairsentient. We all feel everything. We just don't acknowledge it all the time. So with that in mind, it's important to understand what is yours, what belongs to you, what's present for you, but what isn't yours and what you're just picking up from in the field. And there's something that I like to do because being clairsentient my whole life and not always knowing what to do with it, I feel the feelings and the thoughts and the emotions of other people and the physical pain sometimes in my body. And so now when I feel something, when I'm with somebody, I can acknowledge like, whoa, that was a big emotion that I just experienced in my body. And I'll close my eyes, take a breath, and I'll say, thank you for showing me what is present. I no longer need to hold it in my body to understand it. When you're clairsentient, part of your role is to reflect back what is in the field. And I believe that that's what we all do as humans. But for those who are more sensitive and empathic to it, thank you for showing me what is present. I no longer need to hold it in my body in order to understand it. And then it gives you permission at the soul level, at the human level, to just let it go. And I can feel an energetic shift immediately in my body. Sometimes I'll get, like you walk by somebody on the street, you get a stabbing pain in your head or something. And And then I'll just take a minute. I'll have that thought run through my head and it just dissipates almost immediately. So I had to learn to do that out of a manner of consequence for myself. And I share that with as many people as I can because it really helps shift it.
That feels like such a gift to, especially with what's going on in the world and the trauma and the angst and there's really sensitive people. I mean, most of the people that come to our program, they're empaths. So
it's overwhelming as an empath right now with all of the destruction, the annihilation that's going on. And we don't want to turn away from it. I really think we're here to witness. And through the witnessing, we become transformers of that energy by not turning away, by not ignoring it, by not pretending it's not there, but facing it, seeing it, acknowledging, witnessing. That's what witnessing is. And to do so without judgment, but to do so with that tender, open heart, but then also recognize I can witness that, but I don't have to make it mine. I don't have to carry it. My job's not to carry it. My job is to witness it and take action where I can, do what I'm aligned with, but don't carry it with you because it's not yours to carry.
And so witnessing is about presence and the ability to stay connected to yourself and connected to another through the heart at the same time, which is what most of us are, or most of the people that are coming through our program and ourselves are learning to master. How do we witness each other as humans? Which goes back to your point of we're all connected at the level of the heart at the end of the day. Yes. Well, it feels like we have been able to land on a few important points that hopefully will allow folks that are listening to feel like they have a couple practical tools, but also a little bit of a bigger perspective of what is happening and why. And then from this, we can feel into next month for those that come to do this, what people will be needing then. But this feels like a nice framework to give people this round. And I do want to mention before we end that a few weeks ago, Sarah came on the podcast and spoke. Jeilene has been on our podcast. She was also the guest teacher in our first event. And so if you're listening and you feel that this type of conversation is something you want to be around more often, then each of them have communities of their own that you can find on our website and in the show notes, but also they're part of our larger community. And these are certainly the things that we might help people navigate with as they're moving through awakening. So I appreciate that you carved out time for this today, and we'll see what folks need next month. But I appreciate all that you are and all that you bring to our program. I'm so glad you're part of it.
Thanks, Paula. Thanks for putting this together.
Yes, absolutely. It's wonderful that you're doing all this.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, listeners. Until next time. Thank you for being a part of the Transformative Harmonics podcast. If this discussion resonated with you, please subscribe, share the episode, or write a review. This helps to support the expanding community around embodiment, sound, and conscious living. You can visit Transformative Harmonics at paulascattoloni.com to find out more about my work, forthcoming classes, and the Transformative Harmonics Academy. You can also reach out and connect with me on Instagram. My handle is at paulascattoloni. I write regularly on Substack at Signature Frequency Living. Until next time, take good care, and thank you for being part of the journey.